Yeah, welcome everybody. Marijuana Times show for January 22nd, 2018. My name is Joe Klare. Welcome to everyone watching and listening. Of course, you can find these videos at marijuanatimes.org along with a lot of other great stories. You can also search YouTube and Facebook for the Marijuana Times. You'll find these videos as well. If you want the audio version of the podcast, search Apple Podcasts for the Marijuana Times show or the Marijuana Times. Both should take you to where you need to be and get you what you need to get. A lot of great stories we're talking about today. Stuff going on in Pennsylvania. Big marijuana news in Pennsylvania. Huge marijuana news out of Vermont. And kind of interesting marijuana news out of Kentucky. So we'll do all that and talk about all that coming up. But first, of course, you know, the Marijuana Time Show is brought to you by NatureSideCannabis.com. Organic, all-natural pesticides. If you're a cannabis cultivator, you're doing so legally, whether it's in a place like California or Colorado or Oregon or Washington or beyond, wherever you're doing legal cannabis cultivation, you're going to have a problem with pests, and you don't want to put harmful chemicals in what you're growing or on what you're growing to control those pests. For one reason, you don't want to, the people who are buying your product, you don't want them ingesting harmful chemicals, but also, of course, you want to pass regulations. A lot of states have regulations concerning what kind of pesticides can be put into cannabis. Colorado, Oregon, and Washington have already approved Natureside Cannabis pesticide products for use in cannabis cultivation. So go check them out. Become regulatory compliant. Proud sponsor of the Marijuana Times show, NatureSideCannabis.com, all natural pesticides. This first story comes from MarijuanaTimes.org. First Pennsylvania dispensary officially opens. It's a story by Jason Sander over MarijuanaTimes.org. The first ever medical cannabis dispensary in the state of Pennsylvania is now officially opened and licensed to sell medicine to patients. They have the proper cards. Keystone Cannabis Remedies, located in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, recently held its grand opening. Dispensary's grand opening was put together by the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, a packed house of patients, medical professionals, and area business leaders witnessed the ribbon-cutting ceremony. Welcome to the 21st century. Tony Iannelli, CEO of the Greater Lehigh Valley Chamber of Commerce, said to a packed house at the Keystone Cannabis Remedies grand opening. Pennsylvania is one of the latest states to roll out a medical marijuana program, with Democratic Governor Tom Wolf signed the bipartisan law in April of 2016. Close to 2 years later, the program is finally beginning to take effect. The Keystone Cannabis Remedies won't start selling cannabis medicine until February of this year. They're waiting for growers to get the product to them. They're holding consultations and educational workshops in the meantime. When the dispensary does start selling products to patients in February, they will not be able to sell edibles or flowers. Instead, the restrictive medical cannabis program currently only permits the state, the legal sale and use of products such as vaporizers, oil cartridges, tinctures, and lotion, which is the way a lot of medical marijuana programs are going nowadays. The somehow smoking marijuana is considered bad. There's not much evidence for that. There's, of course, the things we all grew up with about tobacco. You can't smoke tobacco; it's bad for your lungs. Taking smoke in your lungs is bad. But there's not a whole lot of studies to back that up. They told us that smoking cannabis will cause lung cancer. It does not. In fact, there's studies that show that smoking cannabis strengthens your lungs. So, but that's the way a lot of the later past medical marijuana programs are leaning. They're leaning against the smokable marijuana, focusing instead on the vaporizing, edibles, and such, just like Pennsylvania. But February, patients will actually be able to buy cannabis products from this place. Hopefully many other dispensaries are open soon in Pennsylvania, because patients there have been waiting, their entire lives for medical marijuana. This next story from Forbes.com is out of Vermont. You may have seen it already. Huge, historic news out of Vermont. Vermont governor signs marijuana legalization into law. Vermont is officially the 9th state to legalize marijuana and the first to end cannabis prohibition through an act of lawmakers, meaning it was not on the ballot. It was through the legislature. And if you watch this show, of course, you know that. We've talked about Vermont several times now and followed their progress to become the 9th state to legalize for adult use. Governor Phil Scott said in a statement accompanying the bill that he signed into law on Monday, quote, "I personally believe that what adults do behind closed doors and on private property is their choice, so long as it does not negatively impact the health and safety of others, especially children. Under the legislation's provisions, people over 21 years of age will be allowed to legally possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana and grow as many as 2 mature and 4 immature cannabis plants. Commercial marijuana sales will not be allowed under the new law, which is set to take effect on July 1st. There's a commission or task force or what have you studying whether there should be marijuana sales, which, as I point out many times, and I'll point out again, much like what's going on in Washington, D.C., if you just have legal possession and legal growing, well, that helps the black market. You're immuning their customers from prosecution if they possess what these illegal dealers are selling, and you're allowing these illegal dealers to grow their own, to sell. The actual act of selling is illegal, but, I mean, how long does that take? Was that 5 minutes? It takes months to grow the weed. That's legal. The sale, whatever, takes 5 minutes, depending on how long-winded your dealer is. And then you have it on you for however long. The smallest part of the whole thing is the selling. So basically, they're telling dealers, well, your customers are immune from prosecution. You're allowed to grow if you want. And there'll be no competition whatsoever from legal retailers, legal shops, legal dealers, whatever you want to call them. That's a pretty sweet deal if you are, if you're an illegal dealer in Vermont. Having said that, of course, it's definitely a great step forward. And they'll eventually get around to sales. But until then, dealers, well, you're golden. But people not going to jail for possession and people being able to grow their own, especially medical patients and people who use it for medical reasons, whether they have a medical marijuana recommendation or not, being able to grow their own at home is definitely a step in the right direction. So congratulations to Vermont, the people of Vermont, and the cannabis users of Vermont. State number 9, adult use, possession, legal. Good stuff. Last but not least, this is a story from Kentucky, where I broadcast this show from, WDRB.com. New push underway in the General Assembly to legalize marijuana in Kentucky. A powerful Kentucky senator believes marijuana can reap a harvest of cash for the state's budget. Senator Dan Seam is the highest-ranking lawmaker to get behind the campaign to legalize marijuana. Now get this. Listen to this. Seam is the chairman of the Senate Majority GOP caucus. He said the bill will help grow the state's bottom line. We've been too late at a lot of things in the past in Kentucky, and we have suffered economically because of it, Seam told reporters at the Capitol in Frankfurt on Wednesday. The Fairdale Republican said it was past time for Kentucky to profit from pot. It's out there. We're using it anyway, Seam said. We might as well reap the harvest, so to speak. Now, I'm not going to conjecture on who he means when he says we, but his point is the point that most prohibitionists avoid when they talk about why they are against legalization. See, when a prohibitionist talks about legalization, the way they try to frame it is nobody's high right now. Nobody's using marijuana, but if you legalize it, because, prohibition's working. Nobody's using marijuana because prohibition's working. You take away prohibition, now all of a sudden people are going to be using marijuana. Our roads are going to be filled with stoned drivers. I saw someone today on Twitter saying that now in Vermont, the ski lifts and the mountains are going to be filled with stoned skiers. Trying to make you believe that these people don't exist already. We're already dealing with stoned skiers and stoned people on the roadways. 30 million people, 20 to 30 million, depending on what estimates you look at, use cannabis on a regular basis. They're here. We're everywhere. 1 in 10 people. You look at adults, it's like 1 in 7, 1 in 8 Means you're in a room with 8 people. One of them's probably high. Your doctor, your lawyer, your mailman, the person down the street, the guy next door, the woman going to the school to pick up her kids. This notion that legalization is going to be the reason that people start using marijuana is ridiculous. And there's nothing to back that up, including logic. We already know how many people, roughly estimated, use marijuana on a regular basis. A lot. 20 to 30 million. Using it a lot. Will use go up because supply's easier? Probably a little bit. A lot of studies have shown that use is going up, not with more people coming in to the market, which when, by the way, the new people that are smoking marijuana because of legalization are old people. Teen use is either steady or down in most of the states where legalization is. You know what age group is growing more than any other age group for being a new marijuana smoker? Old people, over 50, over 60, over 65. Those are the new people. But mostly it just means that people who are already using cannabis are going and getting it legally, and maybe they're using more. Because they don't have to ration. The prices are better. They don't have to worry about where they're going to get their next eighth. Because they can just go down to the retail shop and buy it because they're an adult. And it's legal where they are. That's what legalization does. Maybe people are using more, maybe use will go up slightly. But for these prohibitionists, they pretend like, well, this is going to start people using the weed. The devil's lettuce. Prohibition is keeping them from doing it. But now if you say it's okay to smoke the devil's lettuce, smoking the devil's lettuce is what people will be doing. So you have to suspend disbelief to believe what a prohibitionist wants you to believe. And this guy, a powerful Republican in Kentucky, is saying, hey, we got pension problems. The governor, Matt Bevin, he wants to start cutting stuff. We don't want to cut stuff. By the way, Bevin says, no way will there be adult use legalization in Kentucky. So this is a long shot in any case. But they have a powerful Republican in Kentucky saying, hey, we got budget problems. People are smoking marijuana anyway. Why aren't we getting taxes from it? Politically, I'm not one of those people that's like, yay, taxes. Woo. Yeah, taxes. But the point stands. If your thing is we're going to tax business, then all these illegal dealers, well, they're not paying any taxes, are they? Obviously not. They know it's good for them. They're not filling out their tax forms at H&R Block saying, I made $200,000 this year from selling weed. Got a couple kids to get that child tax credit. What are my itemized deductions? Can I itemize? Can I deduct my mortgage? Here's my charitable donations. After I sold a bunch of weed, I gave to the NAACP college fund. Can I deduct that? It's out there. It's already happening. All you're doing with legalization is taking the illegal market and making it an illegal market and regulating it and taxing it. So if you're a prohibition, you're saying no. If you're for the prohibition of marijuana, you are for dealers being able to sell without being taxed or regulated or have to check IDs in any way. And if you don't believe that, well, then go back again and think about it. Think about the chain of logic that says you're a prohibitionist, but you don't support marijuana dealers being able to do whatever they want and having a hold on the market. Because you are. And you do. That's going to do it for us. Marijuana Time Show. For January 22nd, 2018, make sure you check us out on Facebook and YouTube. As I said, marijuanatimes.org as well. Like, comment, share. That's how we continue to grow this show. Thank you to Natureside Cannabis.com, a proud sponsor of the show. Organic, all natural pesticides. At the beginning of a new week here at the Marijuana Time Show, we'll be here covering all the cannabis news you need to know about. Thanks, everybody, for listening. See you tomorrow.